So how you doing? Well, it is a distinct pleasure for me to be back here in this group. This is a wonderful group. I'm starting to feel like you're my family, and I say that because I need a ride home. For those of you who are here for the first time, let me briefly explain what I do. In a meeting such as this, there is so much to learn, so much to listen to. You may possibly miss some of the more important points. Well, that's my job. I sit backstage, I listen to every word every speaker says, and then today and tomorrow I will come out here and give you a brief recap of what has happened in a little segment I like to call, What Have We Learned? So let's start. This convention started on Sunday night, as you remember, with that wonderful reception over at the Marriott. We had 2 ballrooms completely packed. One ballroom was filled with non-stop music by bands of all MDRT members. It was like MDRT Palooza, which they're having a difficult time with in the translation booth. The other one was all karaoke, which was incredible. They were all packed in there, and people were singing karaoke, and the people in the audience, some were clapping, and some were dancing, and some were weeping openly. Those were the music lovers. And then we all rested overnight, and we came back here yesterday morning, and we started off hearing from Joe Jordan. Actually, it was more like, we started off hearing from Joe Jordan. Can I have a hallelujah? I mean, I was just waiting for him to pass the collection plate, you know. He's the only guy who spoke louder than his shoes. And then he gave us a couple of key statistics he called Joe's interesting and amazing stuff. Number 1, everyone dies. Okay. See, we know that, we just don't know when, you know. My wife asked me a couple of weeks ago, she said, if you could, would you like to know the exact time of your death? I said, I don't think so. Why do you ask? She goes, oh, never mind. And then he said 98% of beneficiaries like it better when the death benefit is in force when the people die. Well, who are the other 2% of these idiots, you know? No money? All right, no paperwork. Good for us. And then Joe told us he had to have his knee replaced. He's had both shoulders operated on. He's had all his teeth replaced because he still plays rugby. Here's a little tip, Joe. You may want to take up chess. It'll distinctly lower those health care premiums. Okay. Next, we heard from Queen Noor from Jordan. And to sum up her message, I believe it was, talk to each other. Pretty much it. No, she said, have a dialogue. I do that every day with the voices in my head. We have a nice little chat. But she said women are the key to getting along in the world because women know how to dialogue, which is really a very nice way of saying women talk a lot. And that's true. 2 women meet each other, and one says, how was your day? And then the words just start flying, and they go on for hours. 2 men meet each other, go, how you doing? I'm doing fine. They punch each other in the arm, they get on with life, you know? And then we saw Robin Crow, the guitarist, playing all those mutant guitars. That was a beautiful thing. And he was walking around, which made it, even more difficult to see him. But I asked him, I said, why you do that? He says, oh, moving target's hard to hit. So, And then we heard from my friend John Bledsoe. John said he interviewed a whole bunch of people who were worth over $100 million. And the top 3 people in the country as far as wealth learned how to be wealthy when they were kids. For instance, Bill Gates, when he was a child, was a computer geek. And Warren Buffett, when he was a child, bought his first stock. And Sam Walton, when he was a child, worked in retail. When I was a child, I made fun of people. Where's my $100 million? And then John told the story of how he lost over 200 pounds. And first he tried diets, and then he tried an exercise regimen. I'm here to tell you today, losing weight is almost impossible. It is all a matter of physics. It's a very simple physics equation, because this hole is bigger than this hole. I'm just waiting for the translation to get all the way back. And then John said tenacity is the key to success. There's like a safe, and you have to keep trying the combinations and try it over and over and over and over again until someday you come up with the right combination. Or you could try my idea, blow up the safe. You know? Put the TNT in tenacity. That's what I say. Anyhow. Then next we heard from Randy Kilgore from NAFA, who told everyone to volunteer. And that's all I got out of his. Then we heard from Bertice Berry, who said the tone with which you say things is very important, and that you can lighten your tone and say just about anything by smiling. So here's what I learned from her. She started off with a song, if you remember, because she said it was parsimonious, and then went on to explain what parsimonious means. Hey, I'm not an idiot. I know what parsimonious is. It's that green stuff they put on the dinner plate. And then she talked about Tiger Woods, who he calls himself a Caucasian, a Caucasian, a black, and an Asian. And I didn't know we could make up our own designations like that. Because I'm German and Scottish, which makes me Germish. And then she said her son chased a ceiling fan, and while he was doing that, he was contemplating a parallel universe, wondering if people were chasing ceiling fans in another world. And boy, that took me back to my junior year in college.